want to welcome you, Duncan, to In My Feels. In My Feels is basically thoughts, feelings, emotions on the inside create your outside exterior. So we always start the podcast with, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. I haven't been feeling great with the pandemic, but today's actually a pretty good day. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. How are you, Noah?
I'm good. I the past 2 weeks, I think I told you I've been having a lot of anxiety, and so I've just been doing a lot of therapy and doing that every single day. Like before this, I was on the phone with her. After this, I'll be on the phone with her,
Wow.
doing my therapy because I I easily retract. um and like that's just something that I need to work on with myself, with keeping up with my therapy, or and not falling back just because I'm feeling really happy and feeling like that's going to be permanent, because if I don't keep up with it and I don't keep practicing, then it's not going to last. And so then I retract. And I think I just needed to keep practicing. And by practicing, I mean just like talking with my therapist, like that helps me so much. And I have this anxiety workbook that I do, and I hadn't been doing that for a while. And so I've been having a lot of anxiety, and um, kind of felt like I was retracting a bit with my depression. But overall, like life wise, I'm very happy and grateful for where I am. And I feel like we don't talk about where we are a lot on the show, but I feel like this is our last one for a minute. But I don't know. I am very grateful with what's happening in my life. I'm very happy with where I am in my life. Like, I have a great boyfriend, I have a great career, but it's sometimes, my mental doesn't let me accept that and be happy, and just see all the good things, because I still go after me, and you're not really going to be happy with everything that's around you until you're happy with you. And that's kind of been my life battle, is Noah versus Noah. So I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm just I'm present and I'm grateful, but I'm also dealing with my personal battles that I've struggled with my whole life. That definitely, I think the pandemic have, just sitting around for a lot of people that have anxiety, that have depression, bipolar, mental health issues. I don't like saying issues, but I say issues because I have them. So
Hmm.
other people, I'm like, it's not an issue. But for me, I think it's kind of sparked those a little bit, spiked it up on the charts a bit. And I've seen more people are anxious and depressed, and, so it's just, how are you, Lou? Are you keeping up with your meditation?
Um, I mean, I mean, as Noah knows, I'm fully aware of my feelings and my emotions, and to a T, I know what they create. And I've kind of mastered. I wouldn't say I've mastered the art of that. I've mastered the art of the expectation of it. So everything in my life right now is what I expect, regardless of how I'm feeling. But I mean, honestly, I think I'm feeling the best I've ever felt. I think this pandemic. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but for me, I mean, I've tend to I've removed myself from, you know, social media or from news or from anything else that kind of affects my mental state. And I have a 9 month old, so it's kind
Congrats.
of, thank you. I know you
My
have
God,
a young one too.
I do.
So I've kind of transformed my life of not, for example, making money for me is freedom, freedom to have choices for what I want to do. So I now have turned my mental state being like, well, if I look after my daughter, the more money I'm going to make.
Hmm.
Not as a comparison to her as money. That's not the thing. In terms of her, my sole focus is now her, and
Hmm.
with that comes everything else.
Right.
So I'm kind of on that wavelength now. Even, the full moon I was at in the full moon, I was like, yes, my life is great, and all these type of things. But I can trace back when I used to feel anxiety and depression and all these type of things, and my life would be chaotic. And I'd attract more situations which would enable me to feel those same things, if not more intense. So I guess I want to scream from the hilltops, like this shit is real, like it's magic out here. We're conjuring our own universes. And I want to bring it as practically as possible to audiences like this. So thank you so much, Duncan. I mean, talk about manifestation. I was literally watching Midnight Gospel and I was like, I have to have that motherfucker on this show. He was spitting so many bars and animation and everything else.
We talk about Midnight Gospel probably like every time we speak.
Yeah.
And we're both very excited to have you on the show. But like, I have to tell you, Lou is your biggest fan.
Oh, Lou, thank you.
So excited. Like, I know how, like, we've literally, like, I showed my boyfriend the episode the other day. And we all just are amazed by you.
Well, how do you think I feel? I get to talk to you all. That's wild that you summoned me. I really did think, like, holy shit, why do I get to talk to them? Y'all are both very talented and mind-blowing work out there. Mind-blowing. So
Lou.
thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God. I mean, just back to Midnight Gospel, because I've watched it about 25 times.
I let someone dog sit, and I feel like a demon is in the house. Like I'm going to have to burn sage or something. Sweetest guy ever, but it's like now all my gear is weird, and like he put dog poop in the toilet with a toilet with it clogged the toilet. The house smells like a fucking tent at Burning Man or something. Some awful mix of like almonds and dog shit.
It's funny because
Anyway.
we have all this equipment. I have the Rodecaster Pro for when I bought it before the pandemic. So I thought we could have a round table and everyone would be sitting around vibing, but it's just me by myself on Zoom.
Isn't it? It's so intense, man. I mean, regardless of your mental state, your consciousness,
Yeah.
right now, just the many moments of just bizarre dystopian absurdity.
Yeah.
They can really send you reeling.
I mean, it's funny because before the pandemic, we were working music, so we're meeting so many people. But I realize now I love being a social recluse.
Yeah, me too.
I love it. Like I'm genuinely thriving. But then again, I also work on myself every minute of every day. So, if a thought comes in that I don't like, I question it enough until it goes away. But again, that's me in terms of the pandemic. I want to get back to the Midnight Gospel. So how did you create that? I mean, was it the podcast that came first, the visuals, and then the extra sounds of you like, sliding down something? And I'm just obsessed with it.
Yeah, well, so we picked out some episodes that we liked. Really, what it started off with, we had a writing summit for 2 weeks where we had it was the best mix of people because people wanted to work with Pendleton, so like Weird Al was there for a week, which was just surreal for me. And then we also had Maja Da'u, who is a witch, because we knew that it was about the end of the world, and we wanted to have like a feminine take on it, and
Are we talking about like Wicca Witch or?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
the Witch of the Dawn. She lives in Echo Park. She's amazing. And we had my friend Jason Louv, who's an occult scholar, in the writers' room. Because basically what we were asking people is visualize ways the world could end. And so everybody came up with like these ridiculous apocalypses. Then we chose the ones we liked best, and we wrote some after the fact. And then we did the beats of what would it look like if there was a city that ran on meat? And what would happen if there was a terrorist attack and the city fell apart? And we wrote all those beats out, and then we would have the audio from the podcast, usually cut down to like 20 minutes, lay that on top of those beats. And then naturally you would begin to see places where you had to pin the conversation to the action, because if you didn't do that, then the conversation became background noise. And that was the process. I mean, each episode had its own challenges. And each episode had moments of like where we were all like, I don't think we can make this work. It's impossible to make someone talking about, that you actually can be with a dead body. You're not going to get sick from being around a dead body. It's like, how do you pin that onto someone like being in the Kabbalistic tree of life?
Yeah.
There's like real challenges that were very fun once we figured out how to work them out. But in the process, there was many gasping moments.
I mean, and even the animation, if people who haven't seen it, who are listening, Midnight Gospel, watch it, please, because it's phenomenal. I mean, each episode is different. Each one is, I guess it was originally a podcast, and then it was animated after the fact, right?
That's right. Pendleton liked my podcast, the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, and so we became friends. There's another thing. It's like chatting with y'all. I mean, it's a weird thing. It's like I'm sure you're familiar with this as well, which is when you make something, it's like you're throwing a message in a bottle out to the world, and so sometimes people respond to it and that you would never imagine connecting with. That to me is the magic of creating things these days, really. It's just that you are sort of like creating some kind of mycelial network with other creative people and then processing ideas together, collaborating, even if it's just a conversation. So Pendleton liked my podcast and we became friends, and somewhere into that friendship, he had this idea, like, what happens if we took like Indiana Jones and replaced the dialogue with podcast dialogue? And then it was such a brilliant way to sort of shift mediums from podcasting to animation. And then we built the world of the chromatic ribbon around that idea, and created the character of Clancy, around this basic nucleus of like, whoa, it's kind of funny to see people having heady conversations during like ridiculous, absurd action moments, and sometimes kind of like surprisingly intimate, somehow because that's the other thing. I think we're all getting this from the pandemic, aren't we? Which is that not that this is the end of the world, but there is something apocalyptic in what's happening to all of us. There is something reminding everybody about just how fragile society is right now. And it's not like all we're doing is sitting around talking about the pandemic. We're having very wonderful. You're going out and dancing under the moon. Noah is talking to her therapist, I'm sure. But I'm sure what Noah's talking about isn't only COVID, which is like at the end of not that this is the end of the world, because I think we're on the precipice of a renaissance, actually. But
and dancing under the moon, and I am every 5 seconds. That's great.
That pretty much sums us up.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So Pendleton, for people who don't know, is the creator of Adventure Time and many other amazing things, which I love too. I read that you were on Adventure Time.
Yes. Pendleton put me on Adventure Time as a potion vendor, a very small part.
That's amazing. I mean,
it was amazing. I couldn't believe it.
And because Adventure Time now is finished, right? It's done. Yeah,
Adventure Time's done. I mean, I think so. I think there might be some remake of it or something. I'm not really sure. But the Adventure Time is done.
Because even now I watch things as like, would my daughter watch that? And I'd be like, it's on Cartoon Network, right? So it's kind of, it feels like it's made for adults, but it's kind of not. And then it can get super deep.
Yes. Well, I mean, my God, you know it. You're a father now. Kids are super deep.
Yeah.
Like you realize how easy it is to get mixed up just because someone is linguistic, and maybe someone has the ability to put words together in a flashy way that's hypnotic. That doesn't really mean that they have any kind of intelligence. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the new AI that Elon Musk is all freaked out about, it's creepy, man, and it really perfectly duplicates the way we talk. It writes ridiculous essays and stuff, but that doesn't mean much. So when you're around a child, you realize, oh my God, these are geniuses. These are unfiltered, pure, honest, authentic geniuses. That's one of the beautiful things about children, isn't it? They're just honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes when my boy wants to be with his mom, I'll come into the room. They're like watching cartoons, and he'll look at me and he'll go, bye. Bye. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Pure honesty.
Yeah.
You know, I love it. It's like, okay, no problem, kid. I get it. I would want to be with my mom too. But anyway,
Hi.
yeah, it's
Kids
good.
are I call them the instant manifestors because they operate from such a position of now.
Mm.
They don't know, they don't remember a tantrum, they don't know what they're eating in 5 minutes, they don't, it's not in their universe, and I'm trying to get back to that space.
Right. Well, yeah. You know, in Buddhism, that's called samsara. You know, we get lost. It's like I'm actually reading this really fascinating book. My friend told me to get it because I was having back pain. You know, like it's a trick. I think it's a tricky thing to give someone a self-help book because it's like there's an implicit, you know, you're kind of crazy when
Yeah.
somebody gives you a self-help book. I love it though. This book's called Healing Back Pain, and it's wild because it's sort of indicating, and I looked it up. This is like scientific studies. It's not woo-woo BS, but your subconscious manifests in your back, and sometimes if you're really angry or if you've got like unresolved shit, it appears in your back. It's so because it's like it's got to go somewhere, and so a lot of back pain in the book he calls it a kind of semi nightmare. It's so like you know one of these ideas in Buddhism is really interesting, which is that you know it's not like when you wake up you stop dreaming. It's just that you're not aware of your dreams anymore. This world is filtering out your dreams, and then this thing you're talking about, it's like we're always up in our head, you know, and always like processing, and that becomes reality.
Hmm.
That's a secondary reality. That's not reality. This is a daydream. So you're walking around, there's some phenomena happening, and your mind is like doing color commentary on it to you, interpreting it, adding all this shit onto it, and the next thing you know, you're in bed. No, I've been so depressed that I have laid in bed and been within inches of pissing my bed, literally paralyzed with depression. I can deeply connect with you on what that's like. Every day I'm more afraid of getting depressed again than I am of like my cancer coming back, believe it or not. Not that I want either to happen, but it's like one of them you can still feel. One of them at least you're still here. You can walk around. You don't have to like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like someone turned the gravity of the earth up by 19. It's like, you know, so I really like have to have a work on myself, you know, and when I was younger, it was because I wanted like magical powers or some shit, you know, like telepathy or be cool to like astrally project. Now it's just because I don't want to be a victim of my own mind. You know, I don't want to be dragged around by my own mind, like when you're trying to like domesticate a wild horse. You know, I want to be here. Here's great.
Wow.
Sorry for the rant, my friends.
That was I love that.
Yeah, that was great.
Um, I mean, I want to touch up on an episode because I have so many questions on this episode. The episode with your mum literally just like broke my heart. I cried for the whole thing. But it was, you know, it wasn't a sad cry. It was like, because I mean, I've never seen a conversation between. I mean, I talk about my mum all the time about death, and you know, she hates. She's like, no, she's so scared of death, whereas I'm the opposite. I'm reading this book at the moment called Proof of Heaven, which is a neuroscientist who was brain dead for 7 days and then went to this magical world, came back and wrote about it.
Yeah.
So I'm so fascinated by all these type of things. And I know how difficult it is to have that conversation. I've never seen it in a way that it was portrayed as you portrayed it. I think it was super, super unique.
Mm,
And to be honest, I want to commend you you know, because
thank you.
we don't have those conversations. And, you know, and we always put the opposite of, you know, death is the end, whereas life is the start. But, you know, if birth is life, then death is life too. So it's not the end. But I mean, how did you feel at that time, like recording that episode? I mean, it was incredible.
Thank you. I wasn't there at all. I mean, I didn't want to record it.
Yeah.
You know, losing a parent is just forget it, man. It's
Yeah.
like I was downstairs. I was reading. God, I was on my Kindle reading. What is what's the trilogy? Now I can't even remember. Mockingjay or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? It's this famous movie that came out. Damn it, I wish I could remember. The point is, I was like, I can't even remember what I was reading. I was desperately trying to escape the grief, the heartbreak, and I was going into anything I could to like get away from that, because at that point in my life, I really didn't have any kind of practice, and I was really, really, really heartbroken, and I, you know, when your parent has a cancer, it's years and years of it. It's not like they die all of a sudden. So you sort of you get all these conflicting emotions. There's a part of you that wants their suffering to end. There's a part of you that wants them to be around forever. And then ultimately, you just you cannot understand it until it happens. And so she called me upstairs and said, "It's time. Let's do it." And I didn't want to do it because I think subconsciously I thought that I knew it'd be the last podcast I did with her. And so, you know, your mind does all these crazy bits of bad math, like, oh, if I don't do the podcast, maybe she'll live longer, you know, that sort of thing. And what's really beautiful about death and a dying person who's dying consciously is they are fully in the truth. All the shit falls away. A lot of the masks just fall away because they're fully there. And so you end up getting the sense of being around a saint or around someone, you know, a monk or someone who there's a really interesting mystical quality to them, because it's a portal's opening up around them. They're about to let go of their body. They've, you know, and depending on what lens you want to look at it through, that's a real celebratory time. You've come here for a reason, and you've done your work, and now it's time to, you know, to say goodbye. But that's actually, we're all saying goodbye. That's why in that episode, one of the images is, you know, a planet, or a moon around a planet being pulled into a black hole. Because the other implied thing when your parents are passing away is like, what, you think this isn't going to happen to you? Mm-hmm. You know, like this will happen to you. And so, you know, sometimes I think, and this sounds like the most boring ass way to think of it, but it's like, you know, we're all in the same airport. We just don't know when the flights are coming in, and all of us are going to catch a flight eventually into the next thing. There's just no way around that. And so it was a really powerful thing that she did, because she fully recognized my lack of recognition. She fully recognized my masks and my games I was playing and my denial and probably my heartbreak and my despair. And she, in that lucid moment, downloaded a lot of information to me. And obviously we had no idea it would end up on Netflix. And to me, that's something really beautiful about what she did, is because to me, there's something transcendent about the reality of losing a parent. We all have to face that eventually. It's why it's in so many Disney movies. It's why it's in all these kids' movies, is because this is a universal situation of heartbreak that we find ourselves in, which is the beings that we have known the longest in the universe will more than likely be the first to depart. And so there's a lot there that I hope that, you know, I have gotten messages from people who have lost people and have expressed that they didn't get to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. And they're glad that they made my mom's conversation with me their conversation. Because I think it is kind of a universal language. Once you get that close to the truth, once you start becoming the truth, I think personality, all the stuff that we apply so much energy to exerting into the world, becomes a secondary consideration. And people who are very close to the truth all seem to say the same thing. And they say it in different ways, different languages, different, you know, they use different words according to their culture, etc. But generally the same message seems to come out of them. And it's a really beautiful message. It's the opposite of the way I used to feel about death.
Mm-hmm. No, have you ever had conversations with your mom about death? Because I mean, I do all the time with my mom. I literally after the episode, I called her straight
My
away, and it was
conversation. Um, yeah, yeah, we do. It's like a really, really deep conversation
yeah,
because I think death is like my biggest fear. I was also like on the phone with my grandfather whenever he died in the hospital.
Mm.
So, like my grandfather died of lung cancer. And we were in LA filming that the Hannah show, and I was so young. I was probably like 5 or 6. And my grandfather was dying of lung cancer, and we were all speaking on the phone, like for his last phone call, and we got the option to record his last phone call. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I'm so afraid of death, maybe because, like, I don't know, just because, like, as a young kid, like, I didn't really understand what was happening, you know what I mean? Like, but we have that, like, recording of our last phone call, you know, with my grandfather, and we weren't able to be there. And I think that's what kind of has given me that, like, fear of, like, not being able to say goodbye or not, you know. But for me, it's more like, so Duncan, we just met, but like my mom and I are very close. Like on another level, Lou would probably tell you, like like she moves, I move type of thing, you know, I move, she moves, like, just because she's kind of the only person that's really been my support system my whole life. Like, really, my mom's like kind of only been the only one. So I think whenever it comes down to you talking about they're kind of your first person you meet in the world, and hopefully not the first to say goodbye, but that's kind of always been our fear, like our fear, and our conversation about it is like, I don't want to be here if you're not going to be here type of thing, is like how mom and I talk about it, you know, is like the unfairness of that. Like, you know, my mom is like, I don't want to be, you know, my mom has 5 kids. And, you know, the hard thing about that is like, you know, we just all have such different relationships, you know, but my mom is so close with each and every one of us that
Wow.
so she has these type of conversations with all of them. But for me and her, you know, we've been okay, for instance, we've been on an airplane, right? And the turbulence was really, really fucking bad, like really, 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 really bad. And my brother and dad have actually had to land in a lake, like
Jeez.
in it, like, yeah, like, so we were pretty scared, you know. And like we were just sitting there and like we were holding each other, and I just remember like my mom like started crying because my mom has really bad anxiety with airplanes. And like I was just like, at least we're together, you know, like, you know. And that was kind of like the one thing that like kind of calmed her down, was like, at least we're together. Yeah. And, you know, that was kind of like the thing that we've always talked about, is like, I don't want to be like, because I think the fear of the unbearable pain that you feel barely from heartbreak, you know, because it's kind of like heartbreak is, I feel like, is kind of like a taste of what losing somebody feels like permanently. The fear of that heartbreak is I think the thing that scares me the most is like the unknown pain.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Listen, that is beautiful. You know what's beautiful about what you said? Many things are beautiful about what you said. One of the things that's very beautiful about what you said is your fear of death is so compassionate. A lot of people don't want to die because they're afraid they're not going to exist anymore.
Yeah, it's like really deep. Like, I don't want to feel like, no.
That's sweet.
That scares me. Like right now, like that gives me like a feeling of like fear.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's so many things you have to contend with after losing a parent. And certainly one of them is just crater devastation. I'm not going to try to put lipstick on the fish there. It's just sucks. Bad for a while, and there's no way around that. And it is something like the heartbreak you're talking about. Yeah, something like that. But then there's the other thing that happens that I'm sure you've heard about, and something that people don't really talk about because they don't want people to feel sorry for them. But people who are in the Dead Parent Club, which I am a member, father and mother,
Mom lost her dad at 19, and then my dad lost his dad when I was 6.
do they tell you sometimes that they still talk to them, they feel their presence, or there's a sense of connection?
My dad and Pappy, yes. My mom isn't really, she doesn't really believe in that. She's more like, she doesn't believe that like she could, because my mom's like a Christian woman, and like she like, I always tell her like, I feel this, I feel that, and like she like she just is like, I don't know, she's indifferent about it, but she's never said anything like about her dad. But my dad and I feel like Pappy around a lot.
Yeah.
Like I have like this picture of him in my living room, in the room over, and there's like a break in the glass, right? And it's this heart-shaped picture. And literally, there was no break in the glass until one day when I was probably like 9 years old. We were listening to his phone call, me and my dad. And this was like one of 4 times I've seen my dad cry in my entire life. And my dad started sobbing, and he started apologizing to me, and he was like, "You're not supposed to see me cry." And I've always understood sadness really well. I don't know why. My dad, the very first song I ever learned to sing was Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks. Which, if you know the song, it's a song about death.
Yeah.
And it's him saying, Terry Jacks, I believe he died of AIDS, I believe, and he wrote this song saying goodbye to every single person in his life, Lou. I don't know if you've heard this song, but basically that's the first song I ever sang. And I remember being a kid and singing the song and feeling the pain, and being way younger than 6. Like, when I talk about first song I ever sang, I mean like for real. So I think I've always understood like pain and stuff, and like death and stuff from a really young age. But my dad was playing the recording, which he has, that leads into a song. He was playing it, and he started crying, and a rainbow came across the room, and it went across the picture. And I remember saying to him, like, "Look, like a rainbow, like it's Pappy." And I like went and I picked up the picture, and then the picture had like split right where the rainbow was.
Wow.
Like, I just like forever, like, I don't know. I always look at that crack in the glass, and I never changed the crack in the glass, because I was like, that was such a powerful moment. Whether you want to believe it or not believe it, for me and my dad in that moment, like, there was like, for us at least, we definitely had that connection. And my dad and I have for sure had times where, like, we live in a house where I think it's very spirited.
Yes.
And in Nashville. And so, there's a lot of times like my dad and I will feel like you can just kind of like feel it in your chest, or like there's been times I've literally been in the front yard, and I probably sound like crazy, but I've literally been
crazy. Wait, I'm sorry. I want to show you something. I don't mean to cut this story off.
No,
I want to show you how not crazy you seem. You're blowing my mind. Let me show you something. I have to grab it really quick.
Grab it. I'm like, my boyfriend's gonna hear me talking about dead people and think I'm crazy seeing dead people. What is this?
This is my picture of the Dalai Lama that I got at a Ram Dass retreat, and I broke the glass. And I
no way.
Yeah, I don't want to replace it, because I think the crack in the, I feel like that represents
Yeah,
everything.
I can't change the crack in the glass.
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have to get mine now. Hold on. Now I have to get mine. Fuck.
Noah's getting hers now, Duncan. She wants to show you the picture.
Wow. That's cool.
This is great. I mean, oh my God. Like I'm talking to Duncan Trussell. I'm so like
Give me a
mind
break.
blown.
You're so sweet. Thank you for including me in this. Give me a break. You're very kind. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I carry mine everywhere. And this is like kind of my only photo I have of us.
Oh my.
Wow.
And you can like see the crack.
Yeah, I
Right.
see that. Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I keep it. And I literally, it's the only photo I have. Only one. So I keep it with me and I take it like, you know, on tour with me and I keep it in my bag. And yeah. So
You
it
know-
kind of goes everywhere.
The type of Buddhism I studied, also that rainbow is, you know, there's something called rainbow body. And so when some of these like advanced beings die, it's really common for a rainbow to appear. And it's called rainbow body. It's a real thing.
One time an Uber driver told me I was a rainbow child. What does that mean?
Oh, you are a rainbow child.
What does that mean?
It's got many definitions, but
He told me this on the 4th of July in Lake Tahoe. What does this mean?
well, I mean, I like the biblical version of it the best. You know, to me, like that story is so beautiful, which is just
Well,
that.
I'm named after the rainbow that came after Noah's Ark. That's why my mom named me Noah.
What? There? Oh my God! How beautiful! What a vision! That's so cool.
There's also a woman in the Bible. There's also a woman named Noah before they introduced before Noah's Ark. I'm like, before they introduced Noah's Ark, before Noah's Ark even happens, there was a woman named Noah. But like usually, my mom had like a rainbow painted in my room and stuff, and it kind of was named after the rainbow.
I want to touch back on the obviously the episode, just because there was so much going on. You know, there was a reincarnational aspect
Yes.
to that episode, which was amazing. I mean, you know, your mum gave birth to you, and then in the episode you give birth to your mum, and
Yeah.
all these reincarnational aspects. And the reason why I want to touch up on it is because when my wife was pregnant, her grandma who passed over, she kept having dreams about her, and she's never had dreams about her for years. So we're convinced that my daughter is her grandma.
Whoa.
So, I mean, I just want to is that a personal belief of yours, the reincarnation? I mean, I believe in it, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me, there's something funny that happens where you get around, and no offense to anybody, whatever anyone believes, you know, there's my teacher's teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche would say, your guess is as good as mine. Mm-hmm. And he was, you know, he's like a reincarnated Tibetan, you know, he was literally taken as a child into a monastery, and his teacher was the Dalai Lama's teacher, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, but he didn't even know. So he would say, your guess is as good as mine. And so if he doesn't know, how could any of us know? But sometimes you'll get around people who have made the decision that there is nothing. You die and oblivion awaits. It's the, you know, and then sometimes I've gotten the sense that there's almost a kind of aggression around this perspective, in the sense that you get around them and you realize they're like trying to ghost story you, you know, like they're like trying to, they're so scared of it. They say it like they're, you know, intellectuals, but you get this weird sense of like, I kind of feel like you're trying to scare the shit out of me right now. They'll be like, don't you see, when you die, it's nothing. You're dirt and worms. It's the abyss and nothing. Or like Richard Dawkins will say, death is the anesthesia that saves you from the pain of life, which, you know, is really a kind of like somewhat, at least in there's some confession of the heavenly quality of that version of reality, which is that you die and then that's it. You turn off the light, so to speak. The body is just a neurological computer. Turn off the light. What it means is no consequence for anything you've done. The karmic momentum of your life somehow is completely shut down. It's almost a miracle. It's a version of heaven they're describing. And honestly, if someone's presenting that to me, I might be interested in that as an option, but I'm afraid it isn't an option. That's the problem. I think the more terrifying reality, everyone who's afraid of death, I'll make you more afraid, which is that you're dreaming if you think you get to die. That's the thing. You're dreaming. You really think you get a break. That's the funny thing, is you imagine that there's a break. But regardless, I think that not only do we reincarnate, but we've reincarnated in this life. Like if you look at the different versions of yourself throughout this incarnation, how many different versions of you have there been? Not just the little baby you or the teenage you. When I think of the teenage me, good Christ. I'm like stealing money from my mom for drugs. I'm like rampaging. I'm a rampaging. I'm like always on acid, like this constant never ending vortex of chaos, and that's a different version of me. And then when I think about me when I was in college, or me when I first started working with stand-up comedy, or, you see, oh my God, it's like, it might as well be like, it's like a dream almost, you dream, you go through chapters in a dream and then you wake up. So my feeling is that yes, we have, the way Ram Dass describes it is the best. He says, to understand how long you've been here, imagine a dove flying over the Himalayas with a silk scarf in its beak, and the very tip of the scarf brushes the highest peak, and the amount of time it would take that dove to turn that mountain into a valley. That's how long you've been doing this game, this dance, this human thing. And also the idea of reincarnation is really funny that many people have, is that it's like it goes past, present, future. So you die now and you reincarnate like sometime ahead of schedule, right? But really, I don't think that is how it works. I think you die and you could reincarnate in the 1800s. You could reincarnate in an alternate dimension. You could wake up, you know what I mean? There's no telling, because we're talking about something outside of the simulation as we understand it. So absolutely there's reincarnation, 100%. And we reincarnate every day. I mean, you fall asleep. What the fuck this is the funniest thing about existing. Like, we all just take that for granted. Like, this is one of the things Terence McKenna says, is at any given moment, half the planet is hallucinating. Like right now, half the planet is asleep, completely vividly imagining they're like riding a unicorn through pasta or something like that. This is crazy. You know what I mean? We have to take that for granted. You close your eyes and you wake up the next day and you are gone, man. Maybe you had some dreams, but you are gone. We just are like, yeah, that's what happens.
Gone when I sleep.
What's that?
I'm gone.
Gone.
I don't wake up.
Yeah.
And time to wake up.
Think about that. That's just wild.
I was it's funny because last night I felt the same. My sleep used to be terrible. Now it's getting better.
Right.
And I went to sleep at 9:30, as you do as a dad, and because you're exhausted, and then I was so deep and gone that my daughter woke me up on the monitor and she cried. She was crying, and I was like, wow, that sleep was so quick. And obviously the moon was so bright, it was piercing through my blinds. So I was like, oh shit, I slept the whole night. I went and checked the time. It was 11:30 p.m. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where the fuck did I go?
Yeah. Where'd you go?
Literally.
And we're so terrified of death, but we're like, look forward to going to sleep.
We die every night. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so to me, there is a little bit of a worry in the sense, not that it used to be, yeah, I'm going to die forever. Now it's like, man, I really hope there's like some break, like a spa experience in between, some kind of like Alpha Centauri puddles of moon dust that I can like relax in before I blast in again, because I don't think there is. I think it's just like, and also there's another assumption with reincarnation, which is that you die and then you get to be a baby. I'm not sure that happens. Hello, wait a minute. Who is that? Wait.
I just found Jesus candle with my dad's face on it.
I couldn't tell if it was Jesus or Elvis.
You
Oh,
can't tell the difference between Jesus or my dad in this picture.
That's
That
crazy.
well, what does that mean?
I don't know. It's crazy. I feel like you would go to Joshua Tree a lot. Am I mistaken?
Me?
Yeah. Have you ever been or no?
My answer to that is I don't like mushrooms as much as you think I do. I think this is what I wish. I wish that at Joshua Tree, they had, on that sign when you enter, they said how many people in Joshua Tree were tripping. Because like who isn't tripping at Joshua Tree? That's all I want to know. Is
Okay.
there?
Okay. Okay. So you don't go to Joshua Tree. Okay.
I do. I love it, but I do love it. I do love Joshua Tree, and I'm flattered that you think I go there more than I do.
Have you been to or have you heard of the Crochet Museum or no?
No.
Okay, so there's a museum there, and the owner Sherry Elf. I call her my Sherry godmother because I met her, yes, on mushrooms, but like we just have a connection. That's like I swear to you, like this is my like fairy godmother. Like I don't know what it is, but like I love her, and like she has just become like my like I don't know, like she is just like my fairy godmother from another land. I don't know. And she painted this picture of Jesus, and I was like, that kind of looks like my dad.
It
And
Wow.
does
so I love
actually.
it.
Yeah.
That's a serious Jesus painting, though. That one, the candle, I don't. Well, that the candle is great, but that Jesus painting, that's the one that's why your house is on it.
It,
Oh my God! That's why you're
we
awesome.
Damien Eccles on as well, and obviously I love that the Midnight Gospel with him. He what did he say? He told us that when he showed up at your house, you were wearing a Jesus hat. Was it,
Oh,
On
fire
fire for Jesus.
yeah.
on fire, Jesus. And I said that I should get my dad that same hat.
You should. They're out. They're out there.
I
I
just picture my
get it
dad.
for him.
I'm on fire for Jesus. That's what he'd
Yeah,
walk around.
they're durable
Fire
too.
for Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. I realized I was wearing the On Fire for Jesus hat, and I had a moment where I thought, man, I hope he doesn't think I'm challenging him in some embarrassing way. Like, come on in the house, witch.
Yeah.
I really love
Yeah.
Jesus here, but I'm going to interview you. But I do love Jesus. I mean, my God, that I can't think of a more psychedelic bit of scripture out there. Like of all the, in a more human, so like what I love about the Jesus story so much is he tried to get out of it. That's what I think is so cool about it. The Garden of Gethsemane, he was saying, "Take this cup away from me." There, he was trying to get out of it, and I think that's the most human
Mhm.
Messiah we got, which is that. Can you? Is there another? There's got to be some other. Maybe there's got to be some other way than like being, suffocated with nails in my hands, and I think that's the most beautiful thing. I really connect to that.
Yeah. I talk about this all the time. Have you ever read any of the Seth Speaks books?
No, I haven't, but I've heard of them, of course. I haven't
Yeah.
read them. I hear they're
He
great.
talks about the crucifixion and it being the actual idea of dream reality, that it didn't actually exist. I mean, this is obviously the book.
Yeah.
And he talks about so many other scopes of things and
Can you
about
talk about that some more? What do you mean, the idea of dream reality?
so he basically says that the idea of the crucifixion, and Jesus wasn't one person, he was three people. But during the time periods, we have put them as one person because, it's like Chinese whispers. One tells a story, one tells a story, and it keeps just
Mm.
passing along. He says John the Baptist was part of Jesus' consciousness. So whether or not he's reincarnated, Jesus was reincarnated of John the Baptist. And he mentioned someone else. He said there's a third Jesus coming, which hasn't arrived yet, but it's all part of the same, I don't know, the same soul, the same essence.
Mm.
And he says the idea of the crucifixion didn't happen, but he also says that it wasn't Jesus who was crucified. So in terms of, I don't know, he said that it was a drunk man who the disciples convinced himself that he was Jesus, and that's why they saw Jesus rise after the dead and stuff, because they were protecting him. And the reason why, because again, if you pull back to manifestations and everything, like everything in your life is you. You create your whole existence from the fine detail, the way you look, the way you feel, the way you feel is the way you look. And all these type of things. And it's like, what time is it now? Oh, it's Jesus time.
Frozen.
You know, it's like it's 2:57 p.m. Jesus time 2020, you know. So he's been remembered his whole existence, and I feel like if he was operating on that level, I don't think he would have manifested a crucifixion.
Oh, well, I mean,
Because I mean, he would pick people up off the street and feed them, and you know, he had this unresisting essence to him. So again, I'm talking from a spiritual, practical standpoint. If you do truly manifest everything you are, I don't feel like he could have manifested a crucifixion personally.
yeah, well, man, that is I don't know. Listen, your guess is as good as mine, Fred. I don't know. I mean, to me, I just think the world has a tendency to destroy beautiful things, regardless of the manifestation potency. And I love the manifestation stuff. I've used it with some success. Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind, in particular. I love agape, and I really find it to be quite beautiful. But if we are looking at things on a if we look at things from the perspective of millennia instead of years, then I don't think necessarily a crucifixion is the worst thing to manifest if the result of the crucifixion is some kind of spiritual atomic blast.
Mm-hmm.
These seismic shockwaves through all of eternity, and gives people who are in the worst situations of their lives, where I think, and I want to believe that manifestation could open the door to a prison, or could allow you to sort of, and maybe it can for some very advanced practitioners out there, but some people find themselves pretty crucified. You know what I mean? Like, just in general, like there's most of us, I'd say that's what I love about it. It's like, I've heard it described like this, symbolically, like the whole historic Jesus thing. Yawn, boy, it bores the shit out of me. But the symbolic, so the cross represents a timeline meeting infinity,
Yep.
So we have past, present, and future, and then the infinite. And the thieves on either side represent the fixation on the past or the future. And the crucifix represents the predicament of an eternal thing being temporarily wrapped up in time, constantly being lost in thoughts of what have happened or things that are to come. And the Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, right after the best thing you could say, which is another thing I love about it, which is, Father, why have you forsaken me? Indicating a situation of absolute despair. And to me, I think the problem with some of the, and I'm not talking about you, my friend, because I really do think some people need a good injection of that manifestation energy and the reality of, like, look, you can do just about anything you want. But also, I think there is a tendency to try to clean it up a little bit, which is like, man, sometimes you find yourself, you're fucking crucified. There's no better word for it. You made a bunch of shitty decisions. You manifested yourself onto a cross.
Yeah.
The cross might be a shitty job. You might be in jail. You might have everybody hating your ass because you're a dumb, belligerent drunk for 20 years straight. I don't care what it is, but and in that moment you think, I think I'll just kill myself. And you think, I've been abandoned by everything.
Mm-hmm. And
then exactly that moment where you really surrender to the fact that you're on a cross and stop trying to weasel out of it, something happens that is really great.
Yeah.
You die. Your personality, everything you thought you were, all that work you put into the thing that was fucking your life up, dead.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
I think
you rise again.
Exactly. I love the spiritual. I call it religiousness, not really religion. It's not really, because every religious text mentions Jesus, mentions all those type of things. I think we forget that Jesus didn't write Christianity. He wasn't known as a Christian.
He wrote erotic fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
Again, because your Midnight Gospel has so many spiritual connotations. And you talk about every single religion. Was that something that was instilled from like young? Is this something you grew up around, or is this something that you've kind of self-discovered?
Yeah, yes. I mean, both kind of. I think, I've just always loved uh, I just love the scriptures, many scriptures of the world. I love them, and I find them to be so fulfilling and healing to read, and so mystical, and obviously, and you know, I had this wonderful experience when I was in college. I had taken LSD. I was in a religions class, and I picked up the New Testament, and I started reading the book of John, and I realized, see, there's my poodle. That's Gatsby. Oh, listen to that shriek. Uh,
The shriek.
it's
That
a,
my dog was shrieking this morning, and I was so upset. There's a time when I just don't want to wake up, and if the dogs start barking, I can feel like tears like coming in my eyes, like because I don't want to wake up. Like it pains me
yeah.
that they're like, I literally had tears in my eyes this morning. They were like, they
Uh,
would not stop barking. I did not want to move.
I know. I'm there with you. I'm
The
there with
shriek,
you.
and I know what you mean by the shriek. It's like
I, it's
it's
a shriek.
your ears can bleed.
Think how high strung you have to be, though. Like, this really gives you an idea of a dog psychology. Like, to be that high strung, like, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's like a Instacart. And that's enough to make the poodle, like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? Holy fucking
Yeah.
shit!
That's my dog. My dog's ready to go. He has poodle. And like anything, it could like literally be like the air conditioning coming on, and it'll like crack a little bit, and
Ah!
the dog goes crazy.
Yeah, this is our lives now. This is our karma. I want to talk about karma. There's your karma. Welcome to it. That's every more. You got that for a long time, and you'll go through every phase through of it. You know, and there's just no way to. You just have to let it roll. There's nothing you could do. I mean, unless you want to be a monster, like some people
Poor
can't
guy.
do dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I had two dogs growing up, and my daughter is obsessed with. I call them woof woofs. She's obsessed with them, but she's not getting one. No way.
I know.
No,
We're not-
one child and done. I'm like, I like the
I
odds of 50 and 50. Two kids for me is like 100 and 100. I don't like those odds.
I've got another one on the way,
Have
Fred.
you? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh,
I
there we go.
love the scriptures. I mean, you know, I was about to bore you with the LSD Gospel of John story, but I find them all to be so beautiful. I think if you can extract yourself from getting caught up in the literal interpretation of it, that can help you
Yeah.
avoid some of the like clear problems in them, or some of the, you know, whatever it is, patriarchal language or whatever. But I
You mean
love.
like you can boil your kids in a pot if they're disobedient and treat you bad.
I saw Jesus if he's taking LSD and reading the Bible.
What's that?
I wrote a song called "I Got So High I Saw Jesus," and you're telling me you're taking LSD and reading the Bible. So I feel like you need to hear that song,
Yeah.
because I definitely that was about me on like shrooms and just like even being high. Like I wrote a song called "The End of Everything" that's about.
Love that song.
Oh, you know that song? Okay,
Absolutely
that's
brilliant.
about death, and like that's inevitable, you know. And that's me. I was like literally just sitting right here. We wrote it right here in these two chairs, and I was looking outside, and there's mountains. You can see the, you know, the I call it the slide on the 405 in Santa Clarita, like that goes down the hill. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
The big long thing. You can see it from my house. And I was looking at it, and I was just thinking about it blowing up. I don't know why, but like I kept thinking about the world and it just ending right in front of me, right? And we started watching a time lapse to the future by John Boswell, and it's called Melody Sheep, his YouTube channel. And you can watch the full ass documentary if you want, but it's like the same video as my music video. I had him just kind of like make the same video that inspired the song into a 3-minute music video. So you can literally watch the universe scientifically, how it will come to its end. But that's what inspired it was my fear of death. And I don't think if I hadn't had the moment that made me write I Got So High That I Saw Jesus, I wouldn't have really been mentally capable of writing The End of Everything.
Whoa.
I'm
Whoa.
not mentally there
Yeah, I know what you mean.
to process it. Because I don't know if right now, in this moment, I would have been able to write The End of Everything. Because I was in a much more positive place when I wrote The End of Everything.
When I saw that beautiful, beautiful video, I gotta tell you, as a dad, and this I'm gonna do a cheesy old man thing. I don't care. That's part of being a dad. You don't have to care as much. But I had this moment of like, you know what? This world is not as bad as I thought, if that's the kind of music people are making right now. And I thought that's the kind of music my kid is gonna get to listen to now. And to me, it was just a really like, that's the rainbow. That's why you were a rainbow child, is because that's the idea. The rainbow is like, look, yeah, look, shit sucks. There was a flood, historically, probably like a comet went through the Earth's atmosphere and melted these ice sheets and caused this massive, unprecedented flood that wiped out a lot of civilizations. But the whole point of the rainbow, if you can pull yourself out of the literal thing, which is like, oh wow, really? Thanks. So that's it? You're gonna throw up a fucking color spectrum in the sky after you did a mass genocide after you wiped everybody out because we didn't act the way you wanted us to, and now we're supposed to feel better? I'm sorry, no way. But if you look at it from a deeper perspective, which is that, on the other side, that was why I called it Midnight Gospel, because we've got the apocalypse clock, the clock that's like 2 seconds for midnight, how close we are to a nuclear war, and they're always moving it up a little bit, and it scares the shit out of you. And so to me, that midnight represented the apocalypse, or the darkest time, or the place in your life where you are, Father, why have you forsaken me? And then gospel means good news. And so it was the idea that even in the worst moment of your life, a rainbow will appear. And that that's the situation that we're in. If you get too caught up in believing just in that darkness, well, then, I think that's your manifestation. That's where you're in for a wild ride. But then I think regardless of your exhortations as a manifester, there is going to be, that's the beautiful moment of redemption, the moment where a hand reaches into your reality from some unknown place that you never could have predicted and pulls you into a new life. And I think that that's one of the beautiful processes that we're involved in as a sentient bit of meat in this dimension, is that's got to be a joy. I mean, if you're an infinite being and you break yourself up into segments of temporary incarnations where you get the shit scared out of you, and right in the darkest moment, second act in a movie, right? Or what is it, the moment where the protagonist is in the most terrible situation, and then suddenly, what do you know? There's light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Woo! That's my favorite thing in a dream, when you're getting eaten by bears or whatever, and you realize you're in a dream. Isn't that the best? You're like, oh, fuck, it was just a dream.
It's funny now, because when I dream, I know I'm dreaming. So it's like, oh, so if anything happens, I'm like, oh, it's fine, I'm dreaming.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I just am aware. It's like, another thing I want to touch up on is, you say, you talk about tornadoes. It's like you can't control in one of the episodes, and it really struck me because, again, if we all believe in manifestations and stuff, we have to you should believe that, if you truly believe, that we also control the weather emotionally, physically, all these type of things, or collectively we do. And I guess we all experienced that earthquake the other day, which
you just read my mind.
Oh, see, there we go.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the earthquake.
Yeah.
I said that.
And
we're at my house right now. Like, me and Sandy were at my house for the earthquake, and my boyfriend was at the studio. And I just remember thinking I hope he's okay, because the studio, I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Freaky. The earthquake was so big.
So big. But the thing is, when I was asleep, I knew it was coming. It was the strangest thing. And my wife did too. And, you know, she woke up like, oh my God, earthquake. And I was like, it's okay. We're safe.
Damn.
And I had the baby monitor already like ready to go watching. And she was fast asleep. You
Mine
know,
too. Left, right
fast
through it.
asleep. Like, she probably just thought, this is great. Dad's rocking me or something.
I saw it. I like
Yeah. And I was like, I'm safe because I always now, you know, if, you know, because I've tapped into that, my awareness of it. So, you know, I get in my car with my daughter and my wife. I'm like, we're safe. I get out the car, I go to the store. We're safe. I get, you know, so I'm projecting this safeness or building this environment around us. And even to a point, as I woke up from that, as my bed was shaking, I was like, oh, we're safe. There was no like element of fear or, don't get me wrong, the first earthquake I've ever had, I thought it was a fucking poltergeist shaking my bed. That's how far removed I am from earthquakes. But
this
again,
last year have been the first years like of my life where I've ever felt the earthquakes here in LA. Like, and I've lived here my whole life, and you know, like everybody's like, you feel the earthquake, you feel the earthquake. Never felt earthquakes except the one that we had post 4th of July last year, and this one. They're the only two earthquakes that I felt ever in my life, and like they've been scaring the shit out of me.
yeah.
Like they're so
Me
scary.
too.
No, I mean, you can kind of see it, you know, when lockdown happened and then it kept happening, there was this massive pressure building with everyone at home, you know, stressing out. And then obviously we had the much welcomed, you know, the protests, and there was just so many things that were positively building, should I say. And then obviously the earthquake, it was like the hottest day of the year. Everyone was fucking hot as shit. So in a weird way, I knew something was coming. The difference is I knew I wasn't going to be affected by it. And I think that's the difference between, you know, understanding that we are 100% these tentacles that are fucking driving out into the universe, attracting everything we fear, everything we don't fear, everything we want, everything we don't want. You know, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? Am I this? Am I that? Do I have enough of this? Like, it's all these things. So I feel like for me now, because I'm in a position where I quiet my mind and I work on it now, and I've removed myself from society in terms of, you know, the only social media I do is fucking this podcast. I'm not focused on anything else but what's around me.
Look, man, if I have to choose someone to be in an earthquake with, it's gonna be you. I don't want the guy freaking the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like literally, like all the stuff aside of law of attraction, your survivability, if you don't panic, is like your chances of surviving any situation increase astronomically. Like there's a book, it's called Pieces Every Step. I haven't read it in a long time. It's by Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Buddhist. It's a great book, but he tells a story. He was a refugee. They were escaping. They were on a boat. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a moment where it looked like they were going to get arrested. And someone started freaking out, but there was a person on the boat who had what you have and actually said it in a real way, not in the way I would say it, which would be like, we're fine. Everyone calm the fuck down. We're going to be we're going to be fine. But like really said, no, we're fine. We're protected. We're going to be fine. And everyone calmed down. Like even, I think he even mentions like a baby that was like freaking out. Everyone just calmed down because of that energy. Yeah. And sure as hell, they got out of there. So I think like that's
how it felt when I met, like when Lou and I met, like my world was like that all the time, you know, like I was fighting depression really hard. Like I was like suicidal. I was like really sad, you know, I like was really, really sad coming off of this tour. And Lou was new to my world, and he and his wife like met me, and it literally felt like the day I met them, they just said, you're going to be fine. Like, I don't know, like we got you, like I had this new like second family. And that's why Lou and I are so close. And like, I'm Freya's godmom, and like we've literally known each other, going on 2 years. And that's what that felt like when I met Lou. And he's, you know, I feel like you say you've been practicing more and reading more and like whatever, but also I feel like, you know, even since I met you, you just like, you were calming. You like really, like if you had met me before I met Lou and to now, I'm two different people. And I would definitely say like that is because when I met them, they kind of gave me that it's fine. You're going to be okay. Like he knew what I was dealing with. He knew I was struggling. You could see I was struggling. It was very evident I was struggling. And that sense of calmness seemed to like be able to like bring me in and like be able to talk to somebody that was like on my team and be able to start a discussion with the team, because I didn't know how to communicate to anybody. I didn't feel like I was being heard, you know? And then Lou came in and it kind of felt like all like the, you know, crazy waves and the earthquakes and the tornadoes and all of that stopped, you know, because all of that was up in my head. You know, that's, my head can be so crazy. So I don't know, Lou, sorry to go on that rant, but
No,
that's what
thank you.
it felt whenever I feel like, you know, he lived in his old apartment and he said, come over. And we started working together before we even met. And then he was like, come over and hang out with me and the wife and whatever. And we'll kick it, smoke weed. And when we got there, it was just beyond that, you know, it felt like the connection, like a family connection, you know?
Yeah, I know that feeling. That's the best. Satsang, that's what we call it, satsang. But yeah, and also, you know what? This is like Ram Dass would always talk about how the best thing you could do for other people is to work on yourself. Like the whole missionary thing of going to save people or whatever, forget it. But that thing where you get that thing that you have there, Lou, you know, you don't have to say, this is one of the beautiful things about it is you don't have to like say something. You don't have to like preach. You just be, I've been around, Ram Dass is like that. He didn't have to say anything. He would just smile at you.
Yeah.
And you would forget why you were bummed. And it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's because I watch so many, you know, I read so many self-help books and I read spiritual books and I read all that type of stuff. I think Damien Eccles was the first autobiography I'd ever read. And it blew my mind. And you can kind of, again, like dissect all of, you know, before he was in prison, all that, you know, he had such a relationship. You could, I mean, I suggest everyone is, what is it, Life on Death Row. It was incredible. But again, I could dissect all of his thoughts and feelings that led him up until that point. And obviously it was his mind and mindset and his meditation and all that got him out of there, as well as attracting the whole, everyone to help them. I mean, there was a massive injustice anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, I look at, you know, so many people who are on stage and giving advice, and it's you. Everything stems back to you. I mean, there isn't much else I can say apart from it's you. You are the whole creator. You know, we're created in God's image. It doesn't mention with limitations. And I'm just, you know, just touching up on specifics. But again, watching Midnight Gospel and stuff opened up all those conversations. Me and my wife, I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time, and we talk about it with our daughter too. So God help her when she grows up, trying to be super aware, because I was like unaware. But then again, for me, it was that ignorance was bliss. You know, now I'm aware it can also be a detriment as well as a positive, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's real detriment for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I love my manifesting friends. They're wonderful. I love being around them. And it's great. It's like a little vacation.
Yeah.
Well,
I tell you, I need a vacation though.
you do?
Oh
Where
my God.
where do you want to go? We just went up to Big Bear.
I have to get my daughter a passport, but the passport office, I guess, isn't open here or can't, or any of that type of shit. My UK passport is running out and that UK office is closed as well. So we're pretty much stuck. Not that I would travel anywhere right now anyway,
I
even
know.
though we are safe.
Where do you go? I mean, yeah, we can travel.
That's the problem with us. We've been cooped in the house. We're like, let's go somewhere. And then we're like, wait, we can't. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah. And I love
So
my home. So I'm like, even now, like going out and putting the mask on and going to the grocery store, I'm like, get me back home quick.
I know. I've been doing like bonds. Well, I haven't even been at my house really. When like I don't. have any groceries at my house other than bottles of water. But like when I do, it's like Vaughn's delivery or like whatever, because I have not been to a grocery store since probably like, I've been to CVS for like medications. That's about it. Like I remember my show was March 10th, and that was
forever ago.
That was that was like last hurrah.
Yeah, same. I'm getting everything delivered, man. I'm not going to, you don't go to a CVS.
That's the worst place to go.
I know a pharmacy that delivers. Don't do that.
I have one. They're delivering now. I had to go at one time. I had to go. And like, it's like preparing for battle. I came out with like 2 boxes of face masks and gloves after, and hand sanitizer and all the wipes you can imagine.
Yes.
You know, as I was checking out, I'm like, oh, let me grab this, let me grab this, let me grab this. But yeah.
My wife and I just went to a hotel, and it was like, we were like the stereotypical cliche OCD person in a movie, or like, you know, someone trying to cover up a murder, you know, going around sanitizer, spraying the phone, so like with the remote control, the doorknobs, like everything's got to be clean. And we're both saying to ourselves, this is totally normal.
For a while, I was putting my phone in a plastic bag when I would leave. Like that's, it was me. I'd put it in a plastic bag when I'd leave, and I'd use it through the plastic baggie, and then I'd throw the plastic baggie away when I got home. That was like when I had to go to a few doctor's appointments and stuff, and like they had to move my doctor because my doctor's in the hospital. And so it was like a whole thing, and I just like with the doctors and everything, I was like, I'm gonna put my phone in the bag.
So hotels are like open. I mean, again, because I don't know what's going on in the news. I don't know. I don't see any of that, and I'm like, I don't even know if things are still open, right?
Yeah, they're open, but it's weird. I mean, no matter what, it's weird. It's like, try to enjoy. Like this hotel we went to, it was great. Because there's room service. Just like the ancient times, you'd get room service. You know, you just lay in bed, put on Forensic Files.
Forensic Files!
Yes.
Yes. Wow. I'm going to put on Forensic Files. Wow. When I'm done with therapy and like it's like nap time after like crying forever, and I'm like, it's like time for a good sleep, I'm going to put on Forensic Files.
It puts me to sleep. Forensic Files is like Ambien.
You know what? Duncan, I used to fall asleep to Forensic Files all the time, and then obviously the Seth books is like, it's like, you know, when you go to the movies and you watch a horror film, the only way that horror movie doesn't get attracted to your life because you know it's a movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not watching this shit or falling asleep anymore. But the thing I liked about it is there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even though we enjoy it, and it's like fucked up that we enjoy it, if you think about it.
It's fucked up, friend. I mean, it's fucked up. There's no other way around it. It's a story of people getting murdered.
Stuff like that to go to bed. Like, even I swear last night, like we were going to bed, and my boyfriend had on American Horror Story. I was like, we have to turn this off. Like, I was like literally going to bed hearing people getting murdered, and I was like, can we turn it off, please? Because it was scaring me. Like, and I knew it was like fake, and I've watched it so many times. It's like one of my favorite shows. But like going to bed and like hearing, like, I don't know, it was freaking me out last night. So I like stopped with it used to be like Forensic Files, Drugs Incorporated, like all of those, and I've like stopped watching those to go to bed because they give me weird panicky dreams.
Yeah, it's bad news. I mean, like as I'm falling asleep, I will have a moment of like, what's wrong with me? Like, this isn't a waterfall. This is a narrator who sounds like he lives in a crypt talking about people who've been murdered, and I'm like, how nice. Oh, like
10,000 episodes.
Files. Let me kick back and watch Forensic Files.
But it is relaxing. But yeah, you can go to a hotel right now. But I don't know. I mean, we did it because we went to see my mother-in-law, and you know, everything's calculated risk right now. But I'll tell you, Big Bear, you can go there, get a nice Airbnb, go out on the lake. There's stuff you could do. That's the problem with this thing is you can get you can manifest limitation right now, not even understanding that there's all kinds of things you can still do safely, but everything's harder. Everything's harder. I mean, that's the thing. You're going to be peeing on the side of the road. You don't want to go into a bathroom. So it's like there's all kinds of like things you got to do that are annoying.
I'm in home. I'm staying home. Like,
Yeah, this is
Stay home.
life.
yeah.
Duncan, you post a bunch of UFO shit. I mean, like
Don't
a
get me started.
ridiculous amount. Like, I'm just like, wow. I mean,
No.
I love it's funny because even, you posted it and a bunch of other people I follow posted recently what I guess the government released or something had got released.
Yeah.
And I always feel like those are always like the preparation of what's actually coming. Like Armageddon is like a preparation for a meteorite hitting us, or what's that Will Smith movie, the UFO one, or any of those Hollywood movies that has a connotation of something we think exists, but we don't actually know, even though we know. It's always like a pre thing to prepare, be like, oh shit, it's actually coming.
Yeah. Don't listen. I'll tell you. So this is one of my favorite, like, I'm sure y'all have great stories about this too, man. I mean, y'all literally have access if you wanted it. I think you forget that. It's like, if you wanted to like go up the chain, you can go up the chain. I'm not naming names, but I have talked to some of my most famous friends and said to them, you got to find out. I don't know who you know, but I know you know some people, and you could ask them if they know people, and they could ask those people, and somewhere up the chain, there's someone who's like, yeah, there's UFOs. Relax, of course. What'd you think? But I was in Arlington, Virginia, doing stand up and just like talking about how weird Virginia is, how I'd seen like a Born Identity on the like you see like people who have killed. You see real operatives out there. It's like the CIA. It's like if there's a UFO piece, it's probably somewhere around Arlington. And I mentioned the footage that the Navy leaked about that, that we've all seen by now, which are these things that are, they're not operating the way we understand physics. They're going too fast. They're doing dead stops. Seems to be some kind of anti-grav thrust or something. We understand the physics of it, but we can't replicate it, and it's crazy. And so I was just yapping about that. I got off stage, and I get an Instagram, and it's from this guy. He's like, hey, just so you know, I work in what's like the FBI of the Navy. Like, we had to investigate that, and we had to investigate that guy, and we had to figure out what it was, and we don't know what it is, man. That was the craziest thing. And, who knows? Could have been anyone on the gram, but it seemed real. And then now, all of a sudden, we are getting this like two New York Times articles, both of them saying that the Pentagon is on the precipice of disclosing hitherto deeply hidden information regarding the existence of off-world crafts that they have. And you know what I mean? Off-world craft. They have something that was not made on this planet, and they're about to tell us that. Now, if this really happens, then we are looking at a thing that is as powerful as the crucifixion of Christ or the symbolic crucifixion of Christ or whatever you want to talk. We're looking at a thing at that level as far as human consciousness goes. I mean, it means that for whatever reason, if you believe it's true, then we're being ushered into like the age of it means we might not die on this planet. Yeah. That's what it means. It means that there's a possibility that the Earth is being led into the club, and that we're going to be able to, theoretically, depending on like, there's two possibilities. They crash the damn thing, which is kind of unnerving, right? Like, wait, they're supposed to be advanced intelligences, but they can't fly their own fugging spaceships. Like it, but not what you like traveled through space and got here and you literally you wrecked. Like we can our Mars probe's doing good, so there's a problem there, which is like, wait, I hope they're advanced enough that the wreck was on purpose to give us the technology. But regardless, the real obvious question that we have to worry about is, what is their ethics? What's their morality? Are they benevolent? Are they not benevolent? Are they benevolent according to what we think benevolence is? There are a lot of like things we have to wonder about related to these things. But if it's the way I think it probably is, which is, we all knew it was coming.
Yeah. we already know the answer. I mean, if they were going to do any harm, they would have done it by now and have the capabilities to do it.
Why do you think
Um,
that?
because if they've advanced, and I mean, they've clearly been coming here for forever.
Maybe they're saving it up. Maybe they're
Maybe I don't know. I mean,
maybe COVID is a flavor for them.
maybe it's a thing to keep us inside. I don't know. I mean, it's like,
Oh, you like the way COVID tastes inside a person, and they're
like,
spicing up the earth.
because you can't, it's true. People can't handle the truth. If a UFO was to land right now in the middle of LA and just chill there, it's like, what's that film? I can't remember. When the alien lands down and then the Earth starts destroying themselves, and what we don't understand we fear, and what we fear we try to destroy is fucking true, because religion is out the window. Me being, someone, Joe Blogs, is trying to buy a house.
Why
Why
is
the fuck
religion
am I?
out the window?
Because in no religious text does it mention anything about anything apart from that religion.
Oh shit, man! Have you read the Book of Ezekiel?
I actually haven't.
Oh, good God! It's clearly a UFO encounter that's describing a ship in the sky. Like it's any ancient alien thing.
I mean, I fucking love ancient aliens. It's like the chariots in the sky, and absolutely, I understand like the connotations of that. But I'm talking like the fear factor of how much fear there is right now. If an alien landed, the world I believe, would destroy itself. I mean, I would be safe because my universe is safe, but in terms of the actual idea of it, I think that's the reason why the concealment has been for so long, because people would start destroying themselves. Why am I living the way I'm living when someone's living just so much better and there's a fucking ET above my head? I'm going to do whatever the fuck I need to do nothing that matters anymore.
Well, I mean, this is, to me, I think about it in terms of like, some of the Seth stuff you're mentioning, there's this great, it's like, it reminds me of Gnosticism and the conceptualization of the demiurge as this being that's trying to keep us sort of trapped in a simulated universe for power. And so essentially any power structure on this planet, any hierarchical power structure is related to the demiurge, and it's based on keeping you glued to your TV, eating shitty food, thinking you're going to be happy if you get like a yacht or like a wardrobe, a Gucci wardrobe or something. The whole thing's designed to keep you sort of entangled in the material universe, and there's a sentience behind that. That's the demiurge. So what would happen with a UFO, if it revealed itself to us, I think would be actually devastating for power structures, in the sense that if, okay, you know what it's like? You're traveling, you go to some hotel and you turn on local news, right? And it's cute, not to be condescending, but it's like, they're talking about the high school football game and like small town stuff that you don't know about. It seems nice, quaint, interesting. It's not world news. It's not CNN. Bombs going off in Lebanon, Iran on fire, whatever. It's like, so if we suddenly have UFOs, then there's the possibility you could travel to another planet, and then world news becomes local news. You know what I mean? It's like just some shit happening on a planet, because so much of what we've been taught is nationalism. Where you're born, the country you're in is the best country. Everyone who's born into any country thinks it's the best country. There's no country that's like, that's the best country. Some of them maybe. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, you're like, this is where I was born. This is a great country. This is it. Imaginary little chunk of land that monkey descendants said, that is our country. And so this sort of thing would produce a global consciousness, because now the entire planet is turning towards this one thing and recognizing like, oh shit, there's other planets, there's other places to live than this. Also, and this is a fun thing to think about, how many politicians who seem so obsessed with, quote, protecting us, fixated on this country, how many of them would stay here if they could fly to another planet on a UFO? You think Lindsey Graham is sticking around? You think any of these people who are like waving the flag and telling us how to be, if they could jump on a silver ship and warp speed travel to some pleasure planet, they're not sticking around. They're retiring. So I think the disaster is not so much people going out and freaking out, as much as all of a sudden we are going to align ourselves with something that's bigger than our particular country. and it's not in the interest of a country that's trying to wield supremacy and power over their people like cattle or something, to suddenly have the people looking past the confines of their particular state or country into space and recognizing that we're part of a sort of galactic sentient family, and this planet is one little mote of something. To me, that's really the problem. It's like bad enough if you're a shepherd and you have to worry about your sheep wandering off into the valley and getting stuck in a fence or something. But now you got to worry about your sheep jumping in a ship and flying off somewhere. How am I going to tax you?
Well, you have to put that in Midnight Gospel too, please.
Okay, I will.
The shepherd.
Yeah. That's a problem. I just think if you're a human herder, then it's a real problem if suddenly your flock no longer thinks that this is the only joint in town, because really we're trapped in a gravity well here. You can't get off the planet. Nobody's here consensually. We're not hanging out here because we necessarily want to be here. We're hanging out here because we have to be. I can't fly to the moon.
Would you?
Fuck yeah! What? Fuck you! Like assuming I wouldn't be decimated by the atmosphere or whatever, or like there's not moon scorpions or whatever. I would, of course, like if I could successfully travel to other planets and survive there, I think that sure as shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, humans are exploring creatures, like for better or for worse, most often for worse. We like to travel. We like to, it's romantic to be pioneers. And right now we find ourselves in a little bit of a pickle. Unless we grow gills, there's not much else to do. We can't go into the ocean. So it's I think, the UFO thing represents a potential for humanity, hopefully, to overcome the zeitgeist connected to being stuck in a gravity well because you happen to have been born on a planet that hasn't developed safe interstellar travel or discovered other habitable planets.
Mm-hmm.
I told you not to get me going on aliens.
No, I love it. I mean,
I don't want to have to cut you off. I do have to go to my therapy in a minute.
Absolutely.
Everybody says that when I start talking about aliens.
Sorry, I do have to go to my therapy in a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I mean, I just want to touch upon. Have you ever seen that show Dark on Netflix?
No, but I've heard it's great.
Watch that shit, because I feel like you would. It's the past, the present, and the future is all happening at the same time, and that's the perfect way they articulate it. Perfection. It's fucking insane, and you realize it is. So
I'll watch it. Thank you.
Yes. I want to thank you, Duncan. Seriously, I mean,
what an honor. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I mean, just one quick thing. Midnight Gospel 2. When the fuck is it coming? How far are you in? Please.
No idea. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with it yet.
There is one coming though, right?
No.
What?
Not as of yet. We haven't gotten the call. No, don't know.
What?
Listen, I'm so happy they let us make it.
Tomorrow, watch.
Manifester! Manifest me a second season, please.
I'm gonna go make some potion in the backyard and cast a spell.
The next full moon, I'm gonna be out there. And
I'm most grateful to you if y'all could work your magic. And thank you for having me on this. It's such a pleasure to meet you both. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, please reach out. This is a joy. Yeah, come swim with us. Come meet my baby. Well, wait, I know we can't because of COVID, but we're clear. I mean, we're not afraid. We can socially distance. Whatever. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy your therapy. I need a good therapist.